Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Oh, that sweet funky music will rock us till the dawn. I hear that in my sleep on Sunday nights. Hey y'all, how's everybody doing? Happy Sunday. Hope everybody's doing well and got some good quality shop time this weekend. I've been bouncing around back and forth. It's been another wild week here. Uh, getting ready for next week's video. More on that a little bit later on. Before we get going, though, wanted to give a shout out to newest channel member Wesley Gilbert. I don't see you in the chat, Wesley, but welcome aboard. Um, and don't forget to go to the community tab here on my YouTube channel, and you'll find a link to this week's members only live stream. That's tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, right here on the tubes. And I'd also like to give a shout out to my friend Steve over at Harneal Media, who sponsors Mark Lindsay CNC.com, my website, which needs to be updated big time the minute I can find some time to do so. Uh, if you're thinking about a website, a web store, maybe you want to create and sell some merch, hook up with my buddy Steve. There is a link to Harneal Media in every channel, every video on my channel. Just scroll down in the description and you'll find him. He's not only very good at what he does, he's also a friend of mine and he will take care of you. Believe me. Thank you for everything you do, Steve. I really appreciate it. Let's see. This week is kind of an open Q&A. We've got a one long question that is I'm going to get into in just a second. But if you all have any questions at all about any of my previous videos or just in general, by all means, put them in the chat. I notice we have Michael Mazalik here today. And I may be leaning on you a little bit, Michael, if I may, simply because the question has to do with 3D. And first of all, if you are not subscribed to Michael Mazalik's YouTube channel, well, number one, shame on you. Number two, get over there and do it now. There's a link in the description of all of my live streams to Michael's YouTube channel. He is the 3D guru. I'm serious. It just he's the 3D guru. And Michael may be able to help me if I'm wrong on some of this here. And it's comes to us and there's Steve, the man right. He's everywhere. I'm telling you. There's a link to Michael Mazalik's YouTube channel right there. Get over there and subscribe. Uh, but don't leave here, right click, open a new tab, that kind of thing. Anyway, uh, the question comes from the Union Street Workshop.com. Comes from Mike at the Union Street Workshop.com. He did a 3D carve using the barbed wire border that comes with a spire. When I did the tool path, there was some ghosting around the edges in the preview. I increased the allowance and it cleared up. But when I ran the job, it showed up along the bottom and bottom corners only, no ghosting on the rest of the border. Any ideas what causes that? Now, when you say ghosting, Mike, um, are you talking about uh, kind of a shadow around? Let me bring it up in Aspire here. Let me bring it up in Aspire. Go over here. And anytime, StreamYard, whenever you're ready. Let's see, go over here into the clip art, and you use the barbed wire border. So I'm guessing it was this one for the sake of argument. And let's make that a little bit bigger here. Now, the first thing that pops into my mind is modeling resolution and bit sizes. in your job setup, you've got your modeling resolution. Now I've got mine set down to the lowest standard. On something like this, there is quite a bit of detail in this. I would probably go to very high. But my initial, I don't know, my instinct tells me to just go with high because of that level of detail. So we changed that over, and I'm not going to do anything else in the properties. I'm just going to jump over real quick and do a 3D finishing toolpath. And I think I need to go with something bigger than a 1/8, or smaller rather than a 1/8 tapered ball nose. So let's get in here and let's find my 16th inch tapered ball nose. Yada, 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 yada. Yeah, we'll select that. And you said that you used, you increased the allowance and it cleared up. What did you increase it to? And and are you talking about a boundary offset, or what are you in reference to? Okay, you used high resolution, and okay, it was tool marks from using two finishing ball noses and rest machining. Okay. Okay. That then, all right. Let me go ahead and select, let's do this. Let's go ahead and select both of those anyway. And we've got the 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. And like a dummy, I didn't create a vector. So let's go to the model boundary. And we'll set a boundary offset of 125 since that's my largest bits diameter. Rest machining offset, I'll do raster, and we'll just calculate that. Let's see here. And you got tool marks, shadow marks from the rest machining. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And Michael has explained this to me on a couple of occasions. And it has to do with modeling resolution. See, rest machining allowance 0.03. Okay. Let me go back into it here. Boundary offset of 0.03. That may be it right there. Let me recalculate this. And this may take a while to run, so I'll go ahead and preview the first one. And we'll do the clearance toolpath first. Let's see. You changed the resolution after a component was placed on the project. The component won't be at the higher resolution. We'll find out. Okay. So there is the initial carve right there. And now let's do the 3D finish with the smaller bit. Zoom out a little bit here. Okay, now, if you can see the shadow, are you talking about this cusping right here on the shadow? Is that the shadow that you're talking about? This cusping? You said it was only down at the bottom, correct? And I know this is not really exciting video right now, but there's about a 30-second delay. So when I say something, you hear it 30 seconds later. then you type in your answer and I have to wait 30 seconds to see it. So thank you, YouTube. So let's see here. Mm, let's see. Minimum detail equals allowance. Allowance is the extra stock the 3D roughing purposely leaves behind. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. Used a zero plane border above the material. Um, can I ask why? Now, I don't know what you did out here in the middle, but it shouldn't matter any. Um, I, I don't know what you're doing here. If you're carving a dish, let's say a zero plane might be helpful, but if you're pocketing this out to V-carve and clearing this away, um, I don't know that a zero plane is really necessary. What do you think on that, Michael? Um, I still don't understand what you mean by a shadow line. There is some cusping down here where the bit is, you still got that cusping right there where the flat portion meets the barbed wire, and you've got some in the twists and in the twists of the barbs. Um, but that is just simply from the radius of the bit. Is this the shadow line that you're talking about? Basically, what it comes down to is when you set the modeling resolution, this is how it was explained to me. Let me go back over here to the job setup. When you set the modeling resolution, you're increasing or decreasing the number of pixels that make up the size of the component. Yes, I'm just getting into that, Steve. We're on the same wavelength here, okay? So in the 3D model, it's based on the number, just like any other image. The more pixels you have, the finer the detail is going to be. But that's a double-edged sword because with, for instance, with this high, I'm on 2 million pixels that make up that image, okay? If I go to high, I've now got 4 million pixels that make up that image. So the image, the 3D model is the same size, but now I've made those pixels smaller in order to make 4 million. Now, if I cancel and hold down Shift, go into job setup and click, I can go to extremely high and then maximum. So there's two other levels of detail here. Extremely high is 8 million pixels. Then maximum is 16 million pixels. And each time I do that, those pixels get smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, you'll have to imagine this because I can't really show it. But when you have a large pixel with real high resolution, that 1/8 inch clearance ball nose is going to come down and it will fit into a certain point on that pixel, if that makes any sense. If the pixel is too tight, that bit's not going to try to go down, try to get down into it because it simply can't. It's too big. So when you come back with that smaller bit, it can fit down to carve that pixel. So it's going to carve a little bit deeper than the 1/8 inch could because it can fit down inside there. a lot easier. And if you come along with a 1/4 millimeter tapered ball nose, it's going to go even deeper than that because it can fit down and cut those smaller pixels, if that makes any sense at all. I'm trying to think of a good metaphor, something that would be, oh boy. Okay, Mike says, I only did very high 6x6 border. Okay, let me back up and regroup on that then. Let me come back over here and we'll reset the preview, close, get over here, and I'm going to try to duplicate what you did. You did very high. And it was 6x6, you said. Go back into the 2D view. And we'll resize this. Link X, Y, and auto scale Z. 6. And apply. Okay, so it wasn't huge. Okay, I think that would probably be more along the lines. I don't know if you agree, Michael. That would probably be, while I'm here, let me go ahead and do a vector around it. There you are. Okay. And back to drawing, and I don't need this inside vector. Well, it's grouped. It's you ungroup. I don't want the inside vector. Delete. All right. Come back around and we'll do this. 1/8 inch and a 1/16 inch. We'll go to selected vectors, boundary offset. Let's see. We're kind of going that direction, and let's calculate. All right. And we'll do this one first, and we'll preview that. Okay. Michael Mazalik says, correct. Try thinking of cutting a set of stairs, first with a 1-inch ball nose, then with a 1/8 ball nose. The inner corners will be sharper and possibly deeper. Yes, that, yeah, there we go. There we go. Now, Eitan Tal says, don't forget to increase the simulation quality too. That is true, but he said he then went out and he cut it, and this was in the finished product. He had that shadowing and that ghosting. So the simulation quality wouldn't have anything to do with that. But yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, and all right, cut the entire surface so that the barbed wire stood proud. Okay, well, let me reset and we'll go back and we will do model boundary. No, not model boundary, material boundary. Calculate. And I know you said you did a square, but that shouldn't matter. This is going to take a while to do. And A10 is correct. The shadow may be too faint to be seen in the simulation. I don't know. The simulation has gotten much, much better here lately, but generally speaking, you're right. Okay, let's undraw that. Let's just do the finish. Clear, rather, and we'll preview that. And this is going to take a while to run. So, let's see here. A10 says maybe your Z alignment was a bit off between the two bits. Now, that's a possibility as well. But I think it's going to come down to the modeling resolution and rest machining. Simply put, I have a love-hate relationship with rest machining. It can be very, very handy but it can also be it could also be a handicap. Now I've zoomed in on purpose here. Let's scoot this over and let's do the finishing. And let's see what we get here. I didn't notice any difference, did you? Oh, that's because I just did that. I did the wrong one. There we go. All right. Okay. We see that come in and clean that up. But did it cut deeper? Now I've got my display resolution set to max. Well, it didn't cut deeper, so that is one bonus. Um, uh, does it look, Mike, does it look like when you cut your when you cut the project, does it look like it cut a little bit deeper than the rest of the surface? Is that what you mean by a shadow line? Um, I had no allowance when I saw the line in the preview. Okay. No allowance. Now, are you talking about the boundary offset here? That, let's see here. Let me set those as 0. Set that at 0. And calculate. Okay, you can feel it with your fingernail and you can see it. Yeah, I think what you're talking about is a byproduct of rest machining. I think that's what it's doing. And that is something that is inherent in rest machining. It's and it is, as I said, and as Michael pointed out, it is. Excuse me here. Boy, I wish whatever is putting out pollen would stop it. uh, what it is that smaller bit is able to get down into those pixels a heck of a lot deeper than the larger bit is. And that's what I mean by I have a love-hate relationship with rest machining. In that it can really be a lifesaver, and it can really be a curse, because it will cut slightly deeper and you will be able to sometimes see a line and you will be able to sometimes feel that line. So, Michael, I don't know if you have any advice on how to limit that or how to reduce the amount of that. That I guess we'd call it a shadow line where the smaller bit is cutting deeper. Um, that may be, that basically use one bit and problem solved. That may be, but then again, when you look at something like this, I mean, it depends on how big it is. Let me turn off my tool paths here. Um, I have this 6-inch diameter model on a piece of material that is 12 by 10. So I don't know how big it is, how big what you're doing, but it may be the best thing to do be use one bit. Now I'm still kind of playing around with rest machining. Like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with it, and the automatic rest machining that's built into Aspire is real handy. I believe it's built into VCarve too. Yes, it is. But the old way of doing rest machining, and I have a video on my channel, I'll link it, sometimes gives you a better result in that you do the initial carve, then you do a little bit of quote unquote trickery to create another image of the uncut portions of the model and then turn that into a model and carve that. And uh, you can offset those vectors to where it only cuts in certain areas and leaves edges alone. So Martin Pearson says, I thought he said the marks were only in certain places. I would have expected it to be all over with that model. Yeah, I would too, but maybe it's just more apparent, you know. Michael Mazalik says, when setting the Z0 of the second bit, raise it up a bit and cut. If you need to go deeper, reset the Z down and recut. You only need to cut a few inches to see the correct finish. Oh, okay. I see what you're getting at, Michael. So, cut, let's say, set your Z0, but then tell the machine that it's actually 10 thousandths. 10 thousandths higher than it actually is. No, that would make it cut deeper. Tell it that it's 10 thousandths lower than it actually is, and it'll cut a little bit shallow with that, and then come back and, check it. You're right. You only need to carve a little bit and say, no, I need to bring that down. So bring it down 2 or 3 thousandths. I see what you're saying. Let me play around with that, Michael. That's a great tip. I hadn't considered that. Let's see here. Eitan says that's an awful lot of plunge and lift trips in this toolpath. Well, yeah. I mean, it's 3D. There are going to be a lot of plunges and lifts. Let's see here. Let's go with the finish. Well, let's look at this one here. Let's uncheck that and go with that one there because that one was a border. Yeah, there are a lot of lifts here, and it does seem to go all over the place. And then on that one, oh yeah, there's a bunch. There are a bunch. You're right. And for those of you who don't know how to read a toolpath, let me just throw this in here. When you are looking at this toolpath, the red is a rapid move. That's when the bit is up out of the material and it's moving. Like right here, this is the starting point. It's going to move over here. Then you see the light. These are green, light blue and green. These are plunge moves. Light blue is a downward plunge. Green is a retract. So that's where the bit is plunging and retracting to get into certain areas. The dark blue is the actual toolpath. That's where it's being cut. Now, this is a good example of this. You can see out here in these flats around these barbs and around the twisted wire here, you see how many passes it's making around the outside of this model. These are areas where that 1/8 inch bit couldn't get in there. Okay. So it's going to come out and it's going to make this many passes to the outside of this model. Well, with that high resolution, it can plunge deeper here than that 1/8" bit could, because it can dive deeper to machine the top of that pixel easier than that 1/8" bit could. So that's when you get this deeper cut around the model right here with that 1/16" tapered ball nose than with the 1/8" ball nose. And that's why I say the old way of doing rest machining is, to, to my way of thinking, a little bit higher quality than the automatic rest machining, because I can offset the vector this is going to follow to where it only comes in and cuts maybe 2 or 3 passes, rather than, how many have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 passes. It's going to make around this model. I can set that to where it only makes 2 or 3 or 4. I can keep offsetting and checking and changing and see how many passes that's going to make. That too is a double-edged sword, because I might reduce it so much that it doesn't get all of the cusp left by that 1/8" bit. So let's see where that 1/8" bit. Yeah, see that 1/8" bit comes out here. Yeah, I don't think it needs 10 passes. Well, okay. I see now. Yeah, I don't think it needs 10 passes to do that. So, just me, just my opinion. I kind of prefer the older. Um, the number of passes does depend on the tool step over. That's a fair point there. And let's see, I don't remember what the step over is on these bits. The 1/16" ball nose, my step over is 8%. And my 1/8" ball nose step over is 8%. So some people might say that's a bit much, but I get a better quality finish that way with a lot less sanding. Now, A10 says, brings up a good point. Remember that the plunge move is slow, 1/2 of normal speed to a point, even when there's no material to cut. True. Let me go back here into my 1/8" tapered ball nose, and we'll look at this. I run a feed rate of 100 inches per minute on my tapered ball nose with a plunge rate of 50 inches per minute. That's 1/2 of my feed rate. But in this situation where I have if I have already done a roughing tool pass, I have a machining allowance of 30 thousandths of an inch, let's say. So the roughing tool path has already removed the majority of the material and just left that little skin, as you mentioned earlier. I can go ahead and I can make my plunge rate the same as my feed rate, because it's only going to plunge in 30 thousandths. And that right there is going to literally cut the machining time in half. It would literally cut the machining time in half. Now, let me cancel that, close that without saving that, and let's just see what the, where's it at? There it is. This is saying 3 hours and 14 minutes. And the clearance, the roughing, is going to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. Well, now let me go back into it, and I'll change the plunge rate to 100 to match the feed rate. And that's all. I'm not going to touch that 1/16" bit. Recalculate. Any day now, Aspire. I've got a lot of things running here, so it's taking it a while. You can do it. You can do it. Okay. And close the preview. And let's see what that did to it. It didn't change it all that much. 240. Wow. Normally that changes it quite a bit. Did I do something else? Did I change something else? No, that's all I changed. Got the same. Yeah, okay. Usually that changes it drastically. Wow. That's the first time that's ever happened. I'm at odds. See if that does it with this one here. Edit. Let's go into here. Great. Because Aton is absolutely right. On a 3D carve, the machine moves at the speed of the slowest axis. So if you've got a real low plunge rate, well, I could reset the preview, but that doesn't matter for this. So if you've got a really low plunge rate, then it's going to take a while. Okay, so the 3D finish on this one is going to take, you can see down in that little pop-up, the 3D finish on this one, because I'm doing just the, get rid of that. Because I'm just doing that clearance, that 3D finish is only going to take 16 minutes. And then this one will take 47 minutes. But with my 16th inch tapered ball nose, I still have that slower feed rate. Let's change that to the same here. Then recalculate that one. Change the finish pass. That's where all that up and down is happening. Yeah, absolutely. And now that went from 47 minutes. That went from 47 minutes to 45 minutes. So it only took 2 minutes off. Well, that's odd. Usually by doubling the plunge rate, I'm reducing by half the machining time. This is the first, and this is a weird model too. Look at all the plunges it's got to do. Wow. Well, basically, getting back down to the main topic is I think that's what it's down to, Mike, is the fact that you're talking about the modeling resolution and that smaller bit being able to plunge down deeper on in those smaller pixel areas than that larger bit is able to get down in there and do. And a lot of people have asked me about that. One of my channel members who is here today, I won't mention his name to save him any angst. He had the exact same problem and couldn't figure out what was going on. And it took us a while to figure out what was happening and what he was talking about. And that was the issue. He was getting that shadow line where that smaller bit was cutting deeper into the material than the larger bit was. So come out of there. See, Brooks Martin says, I find the Aspire calculations of runtimes vary from actual runtimes. Yes, they do. And there's no real way of, there is no magic answer as far as fixing that. Basically, what I did, I don't know if you noticed my, let me bring that back up. Hold on. Rather than try to describe, I'll just show you here. We come over here into the toolpath summary, and you'll notice down here I have a scale factor of 1.2. I figured that out by taking this estimate time And then when I actually run the project in Mach 4, there is, and Mach 3 has it as well, there is an elapsed time that that it actually took from the minute you hit cycle start. It drops down, the bit drops down at the home position. It starts counting how long it actually took. And then it finishes the carve and everything, comes back, and it gets back to the home position. It stops that timer. And what I did was I just came in and started applying scale factors here. I started at 1.0 and went up a little bit more until those times, the uh, estimated time versus the actual time, until they got close enough to where it, within a couple of seconds of one another. And Aton has a point here. Aspire doesn't account for the time spent on acceleration and deceleration. He's absolutely right. If you have your acceleration set high so that it's getting up to speed real quick, it's gonna cut faster than if you have your acceleration set to where it takes its time to get up to speed. And some people do that, especially if you're cutting at high speeds. So, exactly. You're saying the same thing, Michael, and you're absolutely right. 0 to 60 and how long? Absolutely. Um, and there are a few other factors as well. But all I did was I just kept bumping up this scale factor until I got somewhere close. And I did it on more than one project because, the finished pass, I'd write down, okay, 1625 is what the estimate is. It actually took 1635. Okay. And then I come along and do another project. And this one was 3425 and it actually took 3315. So it kind of went back and forth. And when I got a scale factor that kind of was in the middle, then that was what I used, and it turned out to be 1.2. Now, having said all of that, generally speaking, I don't use it. I ignore it. About the only time I ever get into the job summary is when I'm doing videos to show you folks, because I'm a home hobbyist. I don't care. I have the time to spend. And when I'm out here running the machine, I'm doing something else as well. So if I was in production, if I was doing this to make products to sell for a living, then yeah, every second counts because those seconds add up. And Martin Pearson has an excellent point as well. You also need different scale factors for different types of jobs because one doesn't cover all tool paths. Something else it doesn't cover is if you adjust your feed rate on the fly. If you start out with a conservative feed rate, let's say, well, I was surfacing some material and I started off with the feed rate of 180 inches per minute, but I ended up surfacing at 240 inches per minute. Well, that threw all estimates out the window because it's now cutting 20% faster than what it started at. So, I mean, all estimates are gone. So I very rarely use those estimates because I can take the time. And again, the word is right there in front of us all. It's a time estimate. It could be more, it could be less. It's not a guarantee. And, you know, so. All right. Let's see. Mike says, thank you for all your knowledge. Well, I didn't contribute much. You gave me lots of ideas to try. You're the best. Well, I don't know about the best. My wife may differ with you, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thank Michael Mazalik. Now, I got to say, again, hit Michael Mazalik's channel, subscribe, and binge watch his videos. I mean, I say it every week, he has forgotten more about 3D than I've ever learned. He is the guru. Trust me on this. So I hope that helps you out even a little bit. But on a smaller project like that, I think your idea of going with one bit may be the way to go, just simply because it's not huge. And when I've done a few very small, and I'm talking about 2-inch diameter projects, in the center of something, and I use one bit. I mean, the little 16th of an inch bit, the tapered ball nose for the entire thing. Yeah, it takes a while, but again, I'm a home hobbyist. I can afford to take the time. So, let's see here. We've got no other questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and, well, it's been 51 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up by doing something a little bit different. Some of you may notice that there's a link down in the description to a friend of mine. His name is John Cousins, and he runs a tidy little YouTube channel here called Would If I Could. He's a scroll saw artist. He has nothing to do with CNC. He has nothing to do with CNC routers at all. It is 100% scroll saw, handmade stuff. And he is doing a live stream right now. In fact, I left his live stream to come do this live stream. If you have any inclination to come on over, tell him I sent you. I'm leaving here and going to his live stream to just get in, hoot and holler. It's a completely different format than anything I do. He does marathons, and I'm talking marathons. 4, 5, 6 hour live streams are nothing to him. It's a little bit different. It's not a tutorial. You're just there with him as he's scroll sawing a project. Now, he's currently working on something that never really took off here in the US, and I wish it would. We saw these when we were stationed over in Germany. It's called a Christmas pyramid. And basically what it is it's a fretwork scroll sawed uh, pyramid with figurines inside them and everything. And it has this large wooden propeller on top. And you put candles down below it, and the heat from those candles spins that propeller. And some of the figures move around inside and everything else. Really cool. He's cutting one of those right now, currently over on his channel, and I need to send him some viewers over there. So if you have autoplay enabled on YouTube, as soon as I end this live stream, you'll be automatically redirected over there. If you don't have autoplay enabled, you won't. You can click the link and head on over, and I'll be joining John on camera and just giving it a go, having a good old time. We talk, we BS. It's a great bunch of people to hang around with. Again, nothing to do with CNC. So, oh, I see we have a question. Leo Steger, how you doing, Leo? Does Vectric have hole patterns that can be set in rows and columns? Not necessarily, but they do have a circle and linear arrays. That's how I would do it. Let's, for instance, for like cribbage boards, you want to set a pattern of holes and then do an array of those patterns. I mean, but as far as hole patterns, Not necessarily. So, but also get into your clip art. They do have cribbage board patterns in the clip art. So Dan Neal is saying which one, which link? It is John. Would if I could, John C. That's the link. There is a link to his live stream down in the description. It should be the top link. And I'm heading right over there, and I'll be on camera with him, and we're just going to have a good old time. So I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I need to say other than to my channel members, don't forget tomorrow, members only live stream, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Check the community tab for the link to the live stream. And Steve is right there. There's the link to John's live stream. There it is. If you would like information on how to become a channel member, click the little join button down there by the subscribe button. A panel will pop up, a video will play, tell you all about channel membership. Next week is I'm going to combine last week's video. I'm going to combine a setting Z0 to the material surface and to the machine bed in the same file to cut out a couple of more barn stars and maybe get things straightened out. And that should be next Sunday. The live Q&A will be about that. Other than that, for those of you who make the trip over to John's live stream, I'll see you over there. For those that don't, see you next week. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Thank you very much, everybody.